Let's go to Brussels. Reinhard Bütikofer is a member of the European Parliament from the German Green Party. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24.
Thank you for having me on the program.
What is your big takeaway from a China-EU summit that had been long looked at by European businesses and citizens alike?
Well, I think it's fair to say that nobody was looking for great revelations, for great concessions from the Chinese side. They didn't even try to negotiate joint statement. So they were not in the mood of really dealing with our concerns. But it was all the more important that European leaders, in particular President von der Leyen, who has been well noted for taking a clear stance, took the opportunity to express our expectations and to clarify that it is not possible to paper over the problems, and Beijing has to either respond or see our reactions.
For you, what's the top problem, as it were? Is it does it have to do with subsidies for things like solar panels and electric vehicles? Is it about human rights? And a new report this week out that shows that there are Chinese textiles made with Uyghur forced labor. What for you is the top issue, the top bone of contention?
The problems are really legion, but the three strategically most important issues, I would say, are the need to come to grips with the economic threats that are emanating from China. It's not just solar and EV. The Chinese government is heavily subsidizing manufacturing industries in the country that already have huge overcapacities that will be pushed into exports. And we don't want to be a victim of Chinese dumping. So that is a core concern, because that might end up, if we don't push back, that might end up deindustrializing Europe. Second, it's also important to take a clear stance on Ukraine. China is not really respecting our red lines. They promise not to sell arms to the Russians, but they sell the chips that the Russians need for their arms to work. So is that much better? And third, the third concern, which is very urgent, is Taiwan. On the 13th of January, Taiwan is electing a new president. And the Chinese side has threatened to take measures if the Taiwanese voters don't vote as the CCP would want to. I think that should be clearly an occasion for the European Union to show solidarity with the Taiwanese democracy and tell the Chinese so.
The economies of the EU as a bloc and China are so interdependent. I ask you, it's a strange time, what with China's growth slowing to its lowest level in decades, huge problems with a property bubble that's burst, and debt issues. How does the EU handle China in negotiations when it domestically is vulnerable?
Well, I think President von der Leyen has said the right words. We're not afraid of competition, but we want to insist on fair competition. And China is breaking the rules. We cannot just condone that.
And would you say that a weakened China is a more dangerous China?
Well, I think the hegemonic ambition that President Xi Jinping entertains are not based exclusively or even primarily on China's economic strength. He pursues a hegemonic dream of China, of making China the dominant power in the world. With a strong economy, he might be encouraged to apply more economic coercion. With a weak economy, he might shift his attention to military adventurism. I think we cannot focus on speculating which side of his is better. I think we have to focus on creating a phalanx of democracies that stand in for each other and also teaming up with other countries that do not want to be trodden under the heel of new imperialism.
A lot of the economy in your native Germany is driven by the auto industry. And this argument that we're seeing over electric vehicle subsidies comes at a time when Germany is thinking of scrapping subsidies elsewhere to meet budget demands, but not for cars. What about the interdependence between Germany and China when it comes to cars and the switch to EVs?
Look, I would say that the economic relationship between my own country and China is viewed differently depending on where you stand. If you're the CEO of Volkswagen, a company, or Mercedes, companies that have put too many eggs into the one Chinese basket, you will probably continue advocating playing nice. If you are leading a company of medium size or small size, the famous SME, the German Mittelstand, they take a different view, and they are not following the footsteps of the major multinationals. And I think policymakers should listen more to the SME than to the executives from companies that don't care a lot about national security and overall economic resilience.
All right, Rainer Butkover, many thanks for joining us from Brussels.
Thank you.
Stay with us, there's much more to come. More news plus the day's business and sports.